everybody. Welcome back once again to the Stripped Back podcast with Daisy Delight, where I am trying my very best to unpack the Sydney burlesque scene one rhinestone at a time. And today I have with me the gorgeous Bettie Bandit. How are you going?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
No problems. The pleasure's all mine, honestly. Thank you for making the time for me.
Oh, anytime. Anything for you.
No, it's so sweet. So I thought that I'd start off by going through. I do a bit of a stalky stalk of all of my guests before I bring them on. So let me know if I've missed anything. But you've got quite an impressive resume. You've got here that you are a published alt model. You're a burlesque performer. You're also an instructor of burlesque, and you're a producer of your own show. Is that all right?
That's all correct.
Oh my goodness, you're quite busy. How do you keep on top of it all?
It's hard work. I won't lie to you, and having a day job as well keeps me quite busy. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm one of those people that needs to be kept busy. Just a very creative person, and I have to keep my mind stimulated. I always need to be doing something, and doing things like producing and modeling, performing, doing something different all the time. It really keeps me happy as well.
Yeah, I can totally relate to what you're saying about being kept busy all the time. I feel like and quite a lot of creative people are like this. Like one hobby is never enough. You need to be constantly, constantly going.
That's exactly right. And with our community as well, there are just so many performers, and you want to collaborate, and also you feel inspired all the time as well. So I think that's what also drives me to wanting to do as much as I can.
Yeah, I love that so much. All right, well, let's get into the questions. Firstly, I was wondering, what was your first exposure to burlesque? How did you find out about this world?
Yeah, well, I used to just be really sort of intrigued by old school pin-up models and burlesque performers, and then I started finding an interest in the rockabilly pin-up scene. And then from there, like, I would go to some clubs and bars in Sydney, and I would start seeing the occasional burlesque performer pop up on stage. And from there, something just hit me, and I was like, I need to do that. I want to do that. The fire kind of started burning, you could say. And I just, from there, like, my interest really, really peaked, and I started doing my research, and I started modeling more, and from there it just really blossomed, and I started teaching myself more makeup, costuming. I presented myself differently, and that was kind of my exposure to it. It kind of just was in front of me, and I was like, whoa.
You were just chilling, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, it's glitter and boobs. I need to be a part of this.
Exactly. I wouldn't just say that. It's just because I was so intrigued with the glamorous lifestyle, I think, as well. I'd been a dancer for years on and off. So seeing burlesque in front of me too, was like, oh, I can mix that, and I can mix my personality and my style with it as well. It was like, oh, I need this.
I love that so much. So you have a dance background then?
Yes, I do. So when I was very young, my mum took me to some dance lessons like ballet and jazz tap, the standard kind of dance that you do as a young girl. And I was on and off for years, and I did lots of performing as a kid, and would always be around the house doing the splits or putting on little shows whenever I could. And it was kind of on and off for years as well. I did have a period where I stopped doing it. But then a few years later, I was like, oh, I really need to get back into that. Started taking dance lessons again, and then started modeling, and then I found burlesque, and then I've just kept going from there.
I love it so much. Also, being able to walk around the house and do the splits, that is like such a flex. I love that. Just like casually.
I know. It was just as a young girl, that's all I wanted to do was the splits and high kicks and put on little shows, and I was always practicing, and I just feel like I was destined to be a performer.
Yeah, genuinely.
A little show off.
Yeah. Exactly. Showgirl in training. did you have any classes in burlesque, and do you remember them?
Yeah, so I was actually very, very lucky. I was fortunate enough to meet Kellyanne Doll, the absolutely amazing Kellyanne,
Oh,
and through people I had met as well, they had mentioned me, and we actually got started to talking and mentioned that I wanted to learn burlesque. And she was actually so lovely and said to me, you know what, I think you've got it and I would love to teach you. And
oh my God.
from there, I actually got to do burlesque lessons with Kellyanne.
Wow, talk about learning from the best, right?
I know, I feel so fortunate and I do owe a lot to her and I've like would watch her on stage and it was just like whoa and in awe you could say and for
Mm.
her to take me under her wing and teach me some things she drilled me, she was honest, she took me through everything I could possibly learn and like and that's how it started basically as well.
Incredible. Was there any like standout advice that you got from her?
Yeah, like she always taught me to be myself no matter what,
Mm,
not to worry about so much what others were doing, which I think is really important advice for any new performer starting out in burlesque.
mm.
She would always get me to sort of do some improv to the music, and she was just always so honest. She would say, I like that you did this, but I didn't like that you did this. How about you try this, that? Would go through with me everything from character to my movements to flexibility, give you some like little tips like stealing someone's drink or just being really laughy and having a good time. So that was probably my most standout advice.
I love that. Just the whole like being in the moment thing, because that's the thing. Like, and what I love about burlesque so much is that so much of it is, reacting to the audience, being in the moment, having fun. Like, so I love that that was a focus.
Yeah, no, definitely. She was very vocal about that, and it's always stuck in my mind.
So cool. So, how did you get your burlesque name? How did Bettie Bandit come to existence?
How did Bettie Bandit come to existence? Well, as a performer, you're kind of going around the internet and you're looking at photos and you're thinking about your personality and your persona and what you want to be, how you want to present yourself. And at the time and still to this day, I think it's quite obvious. I absolutely adore Betty Page.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when I was starting, I did have the bangs and the look down pat as well.
Yeah.
My cute pin-up persona and also my interest in kink fetish was very prominent.
Mm.
So it clicked to me. I was like, I need to be Betty, and it clicked. I knew that there was a lot of Bettys out there as well, but I was like, no, I'm sticking to my guns.
Mm.
I want to be Betty. How Bandit came along, I was thinking, I'm like, oh, like what rolls off the tongue? How can I have something cool that goes with Betty? And just like how Bandit came along was I love cowgirls, I love the Western culture, and
Yeah.
at the time I was kind of always wearing my cowboy hat and things like that, and cowboy boots, and I had
Yeah.
a really big cowgirl look going on, and there was also this brand I was wearing at the time called Bandit Brand, and
Right.
I was like, hang on, Betty Bandit. And then from that moment, I was like, that is my name. That is my persona. It's me. I have to use it. And from that day on, it's stuck. And I feel like it rolls off the tongue. It's easy to remember. It's how I stand out. And it's generally me. So that's how it came about.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that bandit really suits you as well because you are, you're a bit cheeky, you're a bandit, when you're on stage, like you can really tell that you're having fun.
Yeah, and I think it's also just it's badass as well
Mm,
from like I love dancing to metal
yeah.
and alternative culture and just really going for it and giving a lot of attitude. So I think having that mix of Betty, cutesy, glamorous, and then having that bandit, it's like
Mm,
just yeah, showing that all the different sides of me.
I love it. All summed up in one name. It's amazing what a name can do, right?
Yeah, and I think that's as a performer, that's you need a good strong name that's really going to make you you.
Yeah,
So that's what Betty Bandit is to me.
I love that. So, what was your first ever solo act then? How did you introduce Betty Bandit to the world?
Well, I used to do the pin-up pageant at the Australian Tattoo Expo.
Oh,
So it was,
awesome.
yeah, it was, so in those pageants, when I did them, you had to perform a talent. So
Oh,
I thought, hang on, I just started, like I had literally just started doing a couple of burlesque lessons with Kelly, so I didn't have a lot of experience, but I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. This is my talent. Let's go for it. So I whipped up some really quick routine, like a 2 minute standard jazzy burlesque standard song and got a very generic little costume, but it was really cute, and I just did a little burlesque routine as my talent for the competition.
I love it. You had
Can't
an
say it was one of my best, but for I think I got to give myself credit for the time I had and for only just starting to learn. I think I did pretty well.
How did the tattoo expo crowd react to it? Were they into it?
Yeah, no, they loved it, and it's a very welcoming community because the tattoo community, it's full of misfits, full of
Hmm.
alternative culture and all walks of life. So they loved it, and it was very liberating at the time as well.
Absolutely, because I mean, we're stepping into this new world and stuff. It would have been fantastic.
It was very, very scary. I was nervous as all hell,
Yeah.
but I was so happy and I felt so alive in the moment.
So you were like, yes, this is the right thing. This is where I belong.
Yeah, this is me. We're here. We're going.
So that was your first ever performance. Have you ever had an onstage fail? Have you ever had something go wrong in a performance? And how do you deal with it?
Have I had something go wrong in a performance?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was really funny. There was one time I was performing, and I will never forget. I was dancing, concentrating, I was interacting with the audience, and I had probably a couple of minutes into the routine, and unsuspectingly, I actually slipped on my heel and fell right on my butt.
No.
It was it hurt and it was uncomfortable and it was not fun, but as a true professional, I kept going. I had a laugh about it and the show goes on, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think it's going to happen to someone at least once in their life as a performer. So that was it for me, and I was that's probably the worst thing that's happened on stage, if I'm honest.
Painful as well. Falling on your butt hurts. Like, not good.
It does. I don't recommend.
I'll be honest. I've got a little story about the first time that I saw you perform many years
Oh.
ago. Yes, and I don't think I've actually told you this story either. But this is the first time that I saw you, and I was like, "Oh my God, who is this girl? I need to get to know her." So yeah, yeah, it was I think a few years ago at Rhapsody Review, and this is when it was happening at the Great Club in Marrickville. I
Yep.
was there to watch one of my friends, and you were one of the performers on stage. I remember you were on. You were doing like this badass metal, like sexy leather, everything. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. And then at the end, when you did your pasty reveal, one of your pasties fell off, and I was like, oh my God, oh no, what's she gonna do? And then you just like ripped off the other one, and you were like, ah! And I'm like, she is badass.
I have to say, I've become a bit famous for that. I'm very bad at making my pasties stick on, and they have been known to fall off. quite a bit. So it's I kind of have kind of claimed it as a signature move, ripping off the pasties.
I love that. Just embracing the chaos. It's like, fuck it. Like, uh,
Exactly. Like, we can plan as much as we can, but the reality is something can go wrong. As much as we practice and work our little booties off,
mhm.
something can go wrong. And I'm a really big believer in, be in the moment and the show has to go on. We're entertaining, people are watching us, and you don't want to have that moment of like, oh God, what do I do? It's natural. We got to embrace it, right?
Exactly. And it's the worst thing as well as an audience member to see someone on stage, something goes wrong and you can tell that they're worried about it and then you start worrying
Hmm.
for them and like yeah, it's very reassuring to have a performer up there who's just like, "You know what? Fuck it. We move on."
We move on, exactly. And who can complain about getting a little bit of nipple?
Yeah, exactly. So, who would you say is your biggest influence then in burlesque?
Oh my goodness, I have so many influences, and it's not just like burlesque performers themselves either. Like, I really love characters. Like, in the burlesque world, our Australian community itself, that is such a huge inspiration for me. Like, going to local shows around still, even seeing new performers, I'm incredibly inspired. Just everyone is so different. Everyone has their signatures, and like we really have an amazing scene here.
We do.
And I'm so grateful to be a part of it. Every time I see performers, I'm so inspired. Names at the top of my head, like I really love the Betty Bombshell. I think she's incredible. I have to say Kellyanne, of course. I love Ivana DeLune. I'm a fangirl for Peg Batiste. I
Yep.
think she's incredible. Um, of course, yourself. You're fantastic as well.
If oh my god,
And
I've done nothing. Very
no,
kind.
no, from that sledgehammer routine lives rent free in my mind.
Baby, I'm blushing. Thank you.
You're welcome. No, I absolutely love it. And for one of your first routines too, like what a standout, what a splash you've made. So you should really congratulate yourself.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Thank you. And honestly, like the things that make me confident to get up there is knowing that I have like support and mentoring because I was a student of yours, from people like you who believe in me, like that means the world. So, yeah, thank
Mm.
you for everything that you've done to guide me on my journey.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been great to be a part of that.
That's awesome. I love that you mentioned going to local shows as well because we do really have such a fantastic scene. I remember I bumped into
Hmm.
you the other night at the Emerald Room for royalty recruits, and that wasn't that an incredible night? It was beautiful.
Oh, that venue is absolutely stunning. And yeah, it was a fantastic show. I had such a great time. And it's just like, yeah, we need more people to come out. It's just, there's such a great scene out there. And to see new performers getting up there for the first time, it just like, it sparks something special. It's a really beautiful feeling. And yeah, it was such a great night. You can't miss these things. They're just so fun.
No, absolutely. Like it's so funny, like because I've been like hardcore sort of like being in the scene, going to lots of shows for like maybe I'd say like about a year now or so, and it's like
Hmm.
I feel like I like sometimes you see the same people at these shows, but like you always meet new people as well, and it's so exciting seeing a new performer, someone else get up there and do their thing. Like I was there to see a certain number of my friends and I knew that a certain number of people were going to be there, but like seeing like completely new people, it's so
Mm.
exciting and you're just like, yes, welcome. Like it's really good.
That's it. We're growing the family, you can say. I always
Yeah.
meet new people too, especially in the ladies' bathrooms, right? It's the
Yeah.
meeting place.
It was so Oh my God. Yes, that's something I can recommend to any of the listeners. If you go to the Emerald Room, you need to take a photo in the ladies' bathroom. There's this beautiful couch that looks like lips. It's freaking incredible.
Stunning. I was like, I want this as my bathroom.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Like, really highly recommend. Even just for a standard night out as well. Like, you
Yeah.
get table service. It's like, whoa, I felt like royalty.
I know. I was like, what? The champagne doesn't end? This is crazy. Like,
I know. What? How special am I?
that's awesome. All right. So, on this show, we have a tradition of spotlighting other people before we promote ourselves. So, is there anyone currently at the moment who's doing something awesome that you want to promote, or yeah, anyone you want to spotlight?
Yeah, well, generally there's Red Light Confidential. I think there's only two shows left for this year, so I really like encourage anyone listening to check out those last two for the year and obviously for years to come. It's been running for 12 years now, and it's obviously run by Kellyanne, Michael Wheatley, and I know Delilah Dollbaby is the gorgeous stage manager as well. So I'd love to highlight them because they work so hard to keep our scene going.
They do. They're honestly so incredible, all of them. Oh man, nothing but respect. Okay, so we've actually come to the end of the interview, which is crazy. So thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you.
So before we
Been a
go,
pleasure.
time for some self promo. What are you currently up to right now?
Yes, I'm currently working on new routines at the moment. I'm also currently working on, I don't want to share too much, but I'm currently working on possibly a new show that I would love to host.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
I'm working on putting on classes again as well, looking to teach some more courses in burlesque. And I'll also be performing at Red Light Confidential as well.
Oh my goodness. Amazing. That's very, very exciting.
Things in the works.
Things in the works, things in the works. I love it.
Things are brewing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Betty. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.